Well, hello, how is everyone? I hope you're well on this terrific Tuesday. And this is video 2 of, I don't know, could be 3, could be 4, could be 5. At the moment, it's 2. We'll see what happens during the day. And if things come out in, like, the Sebastian Rogers case, in any of the cases that we're talking about, I'll do a video. I did a video yesterday on Sebastian Rogers, so if you didn't see that, go and check that out. Because I've had enough of that case. Genuinely. But we are sticking in Idaho just for now because we have an upcoming hearing on Thursday. I will be doing what I did last time. I will be watching the court. I will be recording it. And I will do a shortened version of it to snip out all the crap so you can see it uninterrupted with all of the rubbish removed that you don't need to. And then I'll do a video afterwards just to condense that down and go over it. For those of you who don't have time to sit for a live, I get it. I am having a break from lives at the moment. I will be back doing lives in a few weeks' time. So keep your eyes peeled for that. It's only because I will be filming from Spain in the upcoming weeks. So keep your eyes peeled for that as well. We'll go on the hunt of some of the Idaho people who have apparently eloped to Spain. But anyway, yeah, so we got this hearing coming up, and, you know, a few people have reached out to me on email. They've asked, what do I think is going to happen? What is this about? We've obviously got Bicker Barlow and co. reference the DNA, the IgG stuff, and I believe that we could potentially have Cy come out as well. It would appear that the last hearing, for those of you who don't know, with Mary, was simply that Mary couldn't bear to be in on the same day as potentially Cy because it'd have made him look like an even more of an idiot. No, I mean, he had a prior arrangement, so he had to go in on his own. But yeah, so we've got this court hearing, and I believe that what we're going to see is a potential that if indeed it is Cy who comes in. Cy did email me after the last hearing. You know, I think there's some stuff that's going to be brought out. I think it's going to show that there's a potential that information and evidence was hidden. Ann Taylor, remember, has consistently stated that her client is innocent. You know, not that she thinks he's innocent. He's innocent. She's basically said he's innocent, and so has Elisa Massoth. Now, they feel that way for a reason. Absolutely feel that way for a reason. And we know that Cy has been around this case for some time. And I would imagine that they feel the way they do because of information that has been, how can I say, has been brought together by Cy potentially. And if they can bring that to the fray and say, right, we've listened to Mary and how he's been dealing with it and how he'd been handling the phone records and how they put together, you know, where Bryan was or where Bryan wasn't and the travel. And you saw how much of a clusterfuck that was. That was like me trying to explain it. Do you know what I mean? That would have been like me being called up the day before and said, look, I need you to chuck some stuff together, mate. Put it together in a way that you can go in and show it and go and have a chat with these people. I'll be like, what the actual flying monkey shit? I don't know what I'm doing. Don't worry, you just got to get through the hearing. And that's kind of what he looked like. And when you consider how confidently Cy speaks about the stuff that he does and the fact that he has been out there for, 3,000 plus times doing this on the field, out in the field. You know, it's sometimes, even if you don't trust Cy yourself, you know, that's not important whether you or me trust what he does and how he does it. It's whether on the day in a courtroom with jurors looking at you, how they feel. And if you put Mary up against someone like Cy and Mary stutters and fucks and fluffs about like an idiot, and then you got Cy who is very, very strategic in how he talks and he comes across like he knows what he's talking about and can say and confidently describe in a way that people understand and they like the person as well, because Cy is very, very likeable, then he's going to be able to potentially convince people that Bryan Kohberger not only was not at Moscow, Idaho, and at 1122 King Road that night, but he was in fact somewhere else, completely somewhere else. Now, what if that happens, or that comes up in this next hearing? Where do they go from there? What if Cyree does come up as a witness and confidently states that Bryan Kohberger was not 1122 King Road, and he can indeed prove it? What happens then? And they can then, on top of that, in addition to that, make it very, very apparent that not only can he prove that Bryan Kohberger was somewhere else, but they can prove that Moscow PD knew that was a potential, knew that the way in which they went over the documentation had so much leverage within that they could make it look the way they wanted to. But equally, it could be used to exonerate Bryan. And I think that's potentially where Ann Taylor has gone down this route of prosecutorial misconduct. She has made accusations about withholding exculpatory evidence, and that is no different than these phone records. Remember, we've got phone towers that have a 27 square mile radius around them of where they can pick up people. So as much as a program and a piece of information can indeed turn round and say, this person was in this area on this route travelling to here because it fits my narrative. If that information can be proven to prove that someone also may not have been there, then that's withholding exculpatory evidence. If they had prior notice that Bryan was somewhere else, and I have to kind of question when we hear that when Bryan Kohberger was interviewed, there is no evidence of that. We don't have it. There's no recordings, and it would seem it's been alluded to that some of the recordings of these interviews have gone missing. They don't exist anymore. What if Bryan Kohberger wrote from the start to law enforcement and said, well, I weren't there. I was at Wawawi Park. I had my phone on me. Go and check the information. Go and check yourself, because he deals himself in digital forensics. That is a field which he is involved in himself, so he would have known that. So what if they could have looked at that and corroborated his alibi? But because there was so much pliability in it, they were also able to make that work against him. And because he was so open with them about where he was and who he was with, and more importantly who he wasn't with, which seems to be nobody, they knew that he was a plausible scapegoat for it, because he wouldn't be able to prove, in their thoughts, they thought he wouldn't be able to prove otherwise. But a few things are going to come to light, and like I say, we've got the IGG stuff as well, which I believe this upcoming hearing is going to be done in two pieces. One's going to be public, one isn't. But the IGG is still a massive factor in all this. The IGG stuff has so many queries around it. Why did it have to go down the way that it went? Why didn't they just pull Bryan Kohberger in and get his DNA? If he was a suspect, why didn't they just pull him in like they would anybody else? Pull him in and ask for his DNA. Why this convoluted way of ascertaining who this DNA belonged to? Why was the other DNA ignored? And more importantly, how did it come about, such a complex way of doing it, but so quickly? When you look at records where this has been done in the past, and it's taken substantially longer. There's a lot of questions that need answering. And maybe in the next few days, some of them are going to get put to the courts, and people are going to be compelled to give an actual answer. I'll catch you all in the next one.